So in this video, I want to talk about how shorts are different to how-tos. So of course the shorts display the how-to, and they too have concepts of pan, zooming, expansion, and maybe sometimes cropping, but generally they're used in a different fashion. So let's talk about that. Pan and zoom. Yes, this is going to happen. It's a very common thing within the shorts that pan and zooming happens here. It can happen in how-tos, but it's very rare in how-tos. It's more for the shorts. Expansion, this happens sometimes. Cropping, this happens sometimes. But usually we can get away from cropping and just use a zoom. And so let's have a look at this particular screen. So the how-to is actually really big. We've got a whole lot of area that we're focused on. Now, from an aesthetic point of view, there's a couple of things wrong with this. It doesn't quite go up far enough. You can't see what the name of the application is. And because this is the beginning of the video, that's important. It's not important 5 seconds in, but it is important 0 seconds in. You also can't see that the icon I click on, which is that one, is how this image appeared. That probably needed to come down a little bit further. So I'll just show you it zoomed in. It's essentially this picture. This probably needed to come down. And this probably needed to come up. So maybe we can play that. So here's a classic case of a zoom. And this zoom works really well. So we start from seeing the whole screen, and then we just go in far enough to see what really matters. This image is important, and because I know we're about to go up and use the menu item, that's important. Let's move on to the next thing, and this is called a pan. So this is a classic case for pan. So we've got this orange screen, we've got our buttons, everything's quite nice, but I decide I want to change the color to green. And green happens to be further down the screen. Now, there are two ways we can deal with this. We can use a pan, which we're looking at, or we can use an expansion. Well, let's see what it looks like as a pan. The whole screen just moves upwards so that we can see the stuff that's downwards. And that works quite nicely. We don't need to resize anything. There's no zooming going on. And it works great. But let's look at how we could do things if instead of pan, we use expansion. So the time when you use pan or expansion, you could use them both. Generally, you would use one or the other, and the decision as to what you would use often depends on how much room you have above and below the video. So if I move forward and say, here is this area that we can expand into, so we could expand the video upwards, we could expand the video downwards. Now this is not a zoom, and this is not stretching. It's really taking the crop, because this video is cropped off, and just removing the crop. So you can think of an expansion as a reverse crop. So if we move forward and we say, there's before the expansion, there's after the expansion. Before the expansion, after the expansion. So what that really means is that the before expansion, we can see the title bar. The after expansion, we can also see the title bar, but it's moved up the screen. In other words, it's closer to my head than this one. There's more gap. Now, the bottom of the screen, it's not a case of we stretched it. This image looks exactly the same as this image. But what we've done is remove some of the cropping until such time as we can see the green. Now, how far can we go? We can only go as far as the lower thirds text. We can't go further than that, but that's still a fair bit of area as seen here that we can use. We can use that area and we can use that area. So this is what an expansion looks like. It's really removing previously cropped areas of the video.